Okay, we are going to look at financial maths, and to be able to understand what's going on, there's certain words that you need to know the meaning of to understand what you have to do. We are going to start with easier things like profit and loss, the purchase of certain items, and also the selling price of it. Now, with the activity that you received this week that passed, you got examples like this. Unfortunately, I only received the Afrikaans ones, but I'm just going to refer to this very quickly and then continue in English for you, just to show you what we need to know to be able to do the profit, the loss, and then the percentages of what profit and loss we made. Okay, now these two examples I'll explain to you according to the information, and then just show you how to use the same method to get to the calculations. Hopefully I'm going to make it easier for you to understand what needs to be done certain places. For example, a problem, if you just look at these numbers, the fractions, also the percentage, because we're going to change it or convert it to a percentage or calculate the percentage of it. And then also a problem here, when do I use what numbers to do the fraction of to be able to calculate the percentage. Okay, so in this case, I don't know if you really understand when to use what. Okay, to be able to understand these things, you must know what is a profit. Just to explain to you quickly if you're not sure, a profit is when I buy or sell certain things and I make more money when I sell it than what I bought it for. Okay, and during this lesson you'll be able to see what I mean by that. A loss is if you basically lose money by selling a certain item. So this is not a good thing for you. Profit, you want to make a profit on everything you sell to be able to be a successful business person. Okay, to purchase is also another way of saying that you are buying certain things. And then also a selling price is what you basically sold it against, or to get the money back for yourself to be able to have a business running. Okay, so we are going to use these words so that you can understand what you have to do. Okay, and please pay attention to what is asked in an activity and what you need to answer. But you'll see the way that we are going to I'm going to explain it to you. You'll basically use the same method and the same words just to do the calculations then. And I'm going to show you 3 examples, and then you can still do your activity as Ma'am Mana gave it to you. Okay, for the first one, I'm going to basically use the same information that she gave you, and that was the sum. Just going to read it to you again. A watch was bought for 250 rand and sold for 375 rand. Okay, so first of all, they ask you to determine was it a profit or a loss, and then you have to calculate the percentage of profit or loss that you made on this watch. Okay, to be able to do that, you must identify in the sentence what was the item, okay, that you bought it for first. So you paid money to be able to get the watch, and that is always the thing that we start with, is basically the amount that you bought it for. So I'm just going to use the word bought, or in this case you're going to purchase, but it's easier for you to understand bought, and then what did you sell it for, or the selling price. So get the information from the sentence that says there you bought it for 250. That is the amount you are always going to start with. In some sentences or some of the activities or questions, they start with a bigger number or a smaller number. By starting with the same word, basically with what you bought it for, is going to tell you also if you're going to make a profit or a loss. And by doing this example, I'll show you what I mean by that. So to bought it, when I bought it, it was 250. But when I sold it for 375 rand. So the buying comes first, and then you can make an arrow there if you want to. Then you have to calculate. I bought it for 250, but what is the difference between these two numbers now? 250 and 375, and I'm going to basically, from 250 I'm going to add 125 rand. So with the fact that I add is a good thing for me, because it means more money in my pocket. So that means I'm going to make a profit. So my money is going to be more than I actually spend at the start to buy the watch. Okay, so the fact that there's a plus is going to tell me it's a profit. So that's answering your first question. And now what they want to know from you is the percentage of profit or loss. So remember your calculation sign. So every time you start with this, bought, sell, or sold, you can also use the past tense, and then the numbers that you basically are going to use. Okay, now to basically make your own sum. The problem is you have to have a fraction, but what numbers are going to be where? So for a start the same way every time with the sums. So I'm going to take the number or the value that I bought it for. That is going to become my denominator, and then the difference between the two numbers, even if this one is the bigger one, doesn't matter if it's a plus or a minus. You use the value that you calculated, and that's going to be 125. Okay, so you'll also see that I leave out my rand signs. To be able to calculate the percentage at the end, I'm going to multiply with 100 over 1. So if you think back of the converting of the percentages means, or the percentage sign means, it's out of 100. Okay, in this case I want to convert it to a percentage, so you'll see no rand signs or anything else there. Okay, and then what I can do, I'm going to go back to my percentage or my fraction rules, where I can simplify this first, or with the multiplication of my fractions, I multiply my numerators with each other and my denominators, and then I divide the two to be able to get to a value there. Because we're using these big numbers, for me it's easier to simplify this fraction first. So if I divide with 5 every time, or I can divide with 125 just to make it quicker. You can decide for yourself. So then 125 divided by 125 is going to be 1, and 250 divided by 125 is going to be 2. So you can also see 125 is the half of 250. Keep your 100 over 1 there, because you still have to do the calculation of the percentage. Then from here I can just say my numerators multiply with each other, and my denominators, that's going to be 100 over 2, and then if I divide the 100 by 2, then it's going to be 50%. And if you look at your example that you received on your papers, you'll see that she got to the 50%. Now please remember, this is a method. She used a method, I'm using another method. You are welcome to use the one that you understand, but not to be confused. It's easier to stick to one method, even though you work with a profit or a loss. Okay, to go on to another one, although the numbers are small,